Hi and welcome to MIG. Today I'll be showing you how to perform a classic set. This is Faye. Faye is one of our regular clients here at MIG. She's 87 and she's agreed to be our model today. The first thing you want to do is have the hair prepped, so shampooed and lightly conditioned, and we're using a volumizing spray today. It's being combed through using an afro comb. You can use a plastic ended tail comb, and then you just scrunch the product in with your hands. We're going to start this set today. We're going to start it at the front. We're just combing through the hair and we're measuring. So you want to make sure that your distance and your width is the same width that you're dealing with the roller. This in length and in width. We're using a plastic ended tail comb and making sure that we're not using a metal ended tail comb, as a metal ended tail comb can puncture the skin and making it broken. So the first section has been weaved, it's being divided into two, and the hair is being directed out at 90. And then the roller is then being placed in. We're using yellow rollers. Yellow rollers works more for the length. You normally want to get about 2.5 wraps of hair to create a perfect curl around that roller. Once the hair's rolled down, then you're going to put a pin in it. The pin shouldn't be run along the scalp, it should just be anchoring each roller in together. You want to make sure that you turn your pin around and have that placed in the roller and not resting on the skin, as this will leave a demarcation line. We're now working down the centre of the head, making sure the hair is being directed out at 90 and then that roller is being rolled down. This is where we call half off base. This will give you most natural curl. We're continuing this all the way down and keeping in with the same size of roller so we have an even consistency. You want to make sure that you're working on damp hair. You don't want to have it completely dry or completely wet. If it was really wet, it would take a very long time to dry under the hood dryer. And if it was very dry, the hair won't take its shape properly. So always as you're putting your rollers in, measuring and making sure that you're at the correct angles, this will make sure your end result is perfect. Making sure to comb the ends as well, as you want to make sure that you're not creating any fishhook ends. Fishhook ends are where the ends are buckled, and if this happens, it'll actually create a fluffy end result within your set. Making sure your spacing is even as well of your rollers is really perfect. You want to make sure that you don't have any large spaces and then a lot of small spaces. It needs to be consistent. Tilt your client's head forward too so that you can get in through to the back, making sure it's comfortable for yourself and for your client. So the last section we're using a smaller roller, which is red, and this is just because the hair is shorter normally at the nape of the neck. We're working on the sides now, so you can see that the hair's just been sprayed down to make sure it's nice and damp. And we're going to then work with what we call the C shape. This is creating like a step back kind of version, and it creates a C shape and the most natural looking set for the side. Always starting at the front when dealing with any setting techniques, that way you're not dealing with lots of hair falling over into your hands. Again, keeping the hair held out at 90. Again, if you find that the hair's drying out, sometimes it's a good idea to reapply your styling product. Again, with the green pins that are using to stabilize the roller, make sure you're not dragging them along the scalp. So you can see it's taking that little curve shape. The curve shape is literally just following the shape of the head. Then for the front, we're going to work on more of a diagonal, just so it's going to sit and frame the hair around the face. This can be rolled in so many different ways. This is just what we call classic. Having a good tension on the hair is very important as well, so you want to make sure that you've got nice strong tension before you roll. Otherwise, if you don't, it will have a saggy result and you won't have volume and curl. So for the other side is going to be a mirror image. So just repeat what you did before, making sure that each time that you're just checking that you're on the same page. You can see we've finished putting that last roller in and we're just doing a little spin just to show you how it looks. You can see that nice curve coming down around the side of the head. You can see the red rollers are used at the base and the rest are yellow. The next step is now to dry. So the first thing we're going to do is put a net over. The net's just going to protect the hair from being sucked up into the dryer, as some of the dryers will actually do a sucking and a blowing motion. This is not necessary for all, you just need to look at what kind of dryer you have. This is a classic hood dryer. Basically, you want to make sure that all the rollers are covered by the hood dryer and it just comes and sits over the eyes. We're setting at a temperature. Everybody is different, so you need to check with your client whether or not it's too hot or it's too cool. You want to make sure that they're comfortable. Once that's gone off, you take your rollers out. The first thing you need to do is take your pins out. And then basically you're just going to start to come through and take the rollers out. You shouldn't take forever to do this. This is just literally taking the rollers out. It shouldn't damage your hair design. You want to make sure that the hair is completely dry before you do this, however. The next thing we're going to do is called relaxing Lissette. So we're using a paddle brush and we're going to brush the hair in the direction that the hair was set. This is about combing out any excess product, making sure it's not got a crunchy, wet look to it, and it also softens the curl. Be gentle when doing this. You don't want to be too rough, as the bristles sometimes can scratch the scalp. The next thing that we're doing is back combing. This creates stability and support for your hairstyle. It also stops the hair from looking separated and showing any kind of sparse areas. We always start this at the front and then work the way down the head. That way that you're building that base. You should be looking at grabbing each two sections and joining them together when doing this. You can use a prong comb or your tail comb. Some people will use other types of combs. I do find that these two to be the best. So you can see that we have back combed all over the top of the head, now working down to the back. The back, you're grabbing the last two sections and pushing the hair together to make sure that you've got lots of volume through there. Then now we're dressing it out. I call this zhuzhing or smoothing the hair. This is about making sure the ends sit over. You want to keep your back combing in there. This is about creating that beautiful soft look. Don't want to comb out all your back combing. Make sure that you're very gentle with this. You can see that we were using a prong comb and then we've gone back to our tail comb. It's just about alternating with equipment that works for you. So this is about stretching out the curl and making sure that it sits nice and full and it has like a round, soft look. using your hand to push it into place as you're creating that nice dry moulding shape. We're placing the hair over the ears and just softly onto the face, as that's how Faye likes to wear her hair. Other people may want it shaped off the face. This is just something you need to work out in consultation with your client. When learning how to set, I do find putting the rollers in can take a little bit of time. However, the comb up is the most important, and this is one of the hardest things to learn. It does take practice. You can see at the top there that we're trying to keep as much volume as possible. Most people who have sets love lots of volume at the top, and especially around the crown area. For the front, it's just about keeping it soft and keeping some nice shape on Faye's face. When hairdressing, you want to always be using your mirror to make sure that you've got balance as well. This is very important. Again, now just fine-tuning your work and making sure that everything looks lovely and there's no holes and gaps in our hairstyle. If you have done this well, this can last a client up to a week, and sometimes they just need to come back in just for a little bit of a comb up. Once you're happy, a light spritz of hairspray, and some people will use a strong hold or a light hold. It just depends on the client, and it depends on the weather as well. Making sure you're always shielding the eye and the face whenever you're spraying hairspray. And that concludes our set. We're giving you a little spin just so that you can have a look of it. So you can see there's still a movement and curl in the hair. It's just not tightly curled, and it's giving us that lovely round classic shape. Thanks for watching.